Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by a whole gaggle of people. We've got Zinda, The Plain Truth, Spurs Chemo, Sleeping Warrior, Adam from Iron Realm Media, Flat Earth, Cogito, Chocolate Sane, and Darwin. Good to have you all.
Hello.
Hello.
So, I mean, I don't know if we can kind of begin with the video so I can explain, because people won't know what I'm talking about. It's just going to seem, because it is a bit of a strange one. So I don't know if it's only like 6 minutes long. Is that okay?
If you can screen share it, we'll just have it playing in the background while we chat about it. I know we've been chatting about it just before the show started, so while you're bringing that up, if anybody's unaware or wants to hear that conversation, tune into my backup channel, which is just Nathan Oakley, and I have Flat Earth Debate live and uncut, I think I call it now, and basically it includes little bits of the in-between bits of the show, so check that out. Spurs has detailed what he's going to detail now, hopefully with visuals as well, so take it away, Spurs, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, well, okay, so what it was, I was, very skeptic of an ISS. So, I was trying to think of ways that one could prove if the ISS was really up there. So I was just trying to think of how could they show that. So I was speaking with, people who believe in the globe, and I was suggesting that well, when we look at the ISS feed, one of the reasons why we think it's fake is because there's no life on Earth. It just looks like it's just like CGI or something like this. So there's no lightning, there's no cloud movement.
Can I interrupt you for this? There are videos of lightning from ISS, but there aren't many. So it could be CGI and stuff like that, but it's not true. There are live feeds where lightnings are shown from ISS.
I would like to address that. So the lightning strikes that the ISS shown were on a time lapse, which kind of defies belief.
Yeah, they were on a time lapse, exactly.
Well, how is that even possible?
Yeah, there was fake as hell, weren't they? They were fully CGI.
If I have to try and catch lightning, what I have to do is I have to film in very high frame rate slow motion to catch the lightning strike. Yet on the ISS, they can do it one frame every 30 seconds and catch it. It's ludicrous.
So if there's like a really big storm, you are going to miss like 90% of the lightnings, but 10% you would still get on camera. You don't see all the lightnings, but you see some of them if you time lapse it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but how much lightning do you think there is in the
a
average
high altitude plane to
be
able to
they're
time
like
lapse the
gigantic
Earth. So.
Storms. I'm not a NASA supporter, and I don't really believe in them. But you need someone who defends them if you want to have a debate. So, there are like 10% of the lightnings would still be seen if you.
No, that's not correct. That's not probability correct. If you've got a 10% chance, you've got a 10% chance of catching each flash. That doesn't mean you're going to see 10% of them. You might see 0 is more likely because it's 10% times 10%. So the chances of catching one is 10%.
If
there's a few, but so that you're not going to get 10% if you've got a 10% chance of catching each one.
Well, you will get less lightnings, but if there are 10,000 lightnings per second, you might get like 1000 if we go with the argument of 10%. But I don't know the numbers, but you would still see lightnings.
Well, maybe, but
so guys, hold on, guys. This is the most important. This is what I was watching with.
Okay, let me just round it out then. Pause it just 1 second first. I just want to round this point out. So we've got an ISS feed that's live, 30 frames per second, considerably higher frame rate than the only footage that shows lightning strikes, which is not at the same frame rate. It's a considerably lower frame rate.
Yeah.
And so,
all right.
So with footage that we have that's at higher frame rates daily that shows no lightning ever, and then when you slow that frame rate down, you get more lightning. That makes no sense.
Well, they only shown this time lapse has only shown the lightnings, So they filmed that they have shown this footage where exactly there were a lot of lightnings because I guess there was a big storm or something like that. So, in average, lightnings occur during the night, I guess, because storms usually form during the night on land. So the probability that you get lightnings are higher at night, and if you try to film from the ISS at night, you will see nothing, because the sun supposedly shines on the other part of the Earth.
No, but you should see city lights.
Yeah, maybe, but the thing I've seen, like the footage from NASA, they show nothing at night, so I'm kind of skeptical towards it too.
Yeah, but if they expect us to believe that we can see stars from trillions of light years away, then it's reasonable to think that we should see the light of cities as we're flying over them if there's not cloud cover. You can see that in a plane, and the ISS isn't that much higher than a plane. It is a little bit higher, but scale-wise, relatively speaking, it's not. If they expect us to see starlight, we should be able to see city lights.
Yeah, like starlight is a little bit something different, because...
Yeah, it's called bullshit.
Yeah, it's... I know. I know they are lying, but I have to watch into it, because it's really strange, as you said, that you can't see city lights.
Well, David Abbs in chat says that we do see city lights, don't we, from the ISS? And I will have to say you don't see anything. It's black. Which is it? Is David Abbs right, or are you right?
Well, let's search some footage of it. But go on.
Just to be geeky, guys, just on that lightning, right? If you know how they had like sparkles of like five different areas. So if you've got that 10% chance, then it's 0.1 times 0.1 times 0.1 times. So the actual chance of it happening is 0.00001 is the probability of them catching those 5 sequential bits of lightning if it's a 1 in 10 chance. It's
well, never mind.
Statistically not possible. Even with those generous 10% chance of catching that lightning.
Why? Because, if you take a flashlight and switch it on off like 10,000 times per second or something like that, and you make one picture of it,
But there isn't 10,000 lightning strikes per second. There's only one every whatever. And you're saying there's a 10% chance of catching it. I'm saying if you have 5 sequential lightning strikes in different areas, which is what that NASA footage shows, like lightning here, there, and those 5, the probability of just catching those 5 sequentially goes down to 0.00001.
Have you ever seen a storm that, the whole sky was really bright because it looked like there were like 1,000 lightnings that struck at once?
I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying that's the probability based on the statistics you quoted.
I have to disagree with that, because the probability that if you film with like 30 FPS, that you see a lightning, you can film a lightning, is really high, even if you miss it.
It's not. 30 FPS is not that fast.
Exactly, and we're talking about time lapse.
Yeah, but still, if you time lapse it, I don't know how fast it is, but you essentially will see lightnings.
No, you're wrong. That won't happen.
You're just asserting it. So you're saying at 30 frames per second, you've got a certain statistical likelihood of seeing it. Well, what do you think that statistic does if you drop the frame rate?
Well, of course, you are going to see less lightnings, but
Right, so when we get a
view
time
is-
lapse of lightning where it looks like lightning striking, I call bullshit immediately.
All right, if you say so. But I have.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, dude,
Yeah.
is you're arguing about one. I'm saying the chance of getting that footage based on those statistics becomes completely improbable. It's just not
Don't
going
forget,
to
math
happen
is
to capture
reality,
5
man.
of them based on those generous probability figures that you gave. That's
Yeah.
not even probably including time-lapse footage, which just makes it nigh on impossible.
All right, let's.
Statistically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I would have to look up how many lightnings really strike in a storm at a certain amount of time. So yeah, it's kind of pointless to discuss this without the necessary information. So yeah, I have
0.00001. I would just say those aren't, that numbers aren't pointless. So whenever you go and look at the number of strikes, just remember that 4 zeros
yeah.
to the decimal point, and then apply it and think about the probability of capturing that.
Right, I'm gonna put a stop to this because Spurs
it's
has been
better,
waiting for ages now. So Spurs' original point was about, I'm gonna say it in this terminology for Spurs' benefit, not mine, the ice wall. So go ahead, Spurs, you carry on.
Yeah. So where were we? So, well, I mean, this is where I started to be suspicious. So, I mean, play on. Will it play on? Yeah, it will play on. So, I'm looking at the ISS, and at this time, I was just simply questioning its path with other ballers and where it's going to go, what will it see compared to what we see now. So it was very innocent. I was just saying, oh, we can see, Africa, the landmass, and then I thought, well, if we're on a flat Earth and the wall is beyond South Africa, NASA have to cut the feed, because if they continue in this path, they're going to show the wall. And at this point, I was just saying to the ball earthers, look, they go, because we were all watching together, and I said they're going to cut, and this happened. They cut the feed, and it was like they were like, well, that was just a guess because it's random. They cut the feed, they just lose signal. It's not like they just wait strategically to look for a place to cut. So I just added in, what possibly is what they're not showing, which is like an ice wall, some kind of land mass, infinite plane possibly. I mean, we don't know exactly where this land mass is. Nonetheless, NASA cut the feed. What reason? Why? As we see it traveling past, what looks to be ice, they cut the feed. So, we thought this was just like, oh, maybe this just happened. So the video goes on, and I show that they do this again, time and time again. So now, again, look, so as we see the ISS important areas, it would obviously see the wall, they cut again, and they cut another time. Near the wall, they cut, and again, they're coming down south, and they cut again. So when I saw that, I thought, well, yeah, there's definitely something up there. But what is up there, we don't know. I wouldn't say there's an ISS with people actually inside, but they've got some kind of high altitude aircraft, flying around the flat Earth, but avoiding the North Pole and avoiding the war. So I don't know. People can, they can look at this for themselves. They can kind of almost build a map of what NASA are not showing. You've heard people say it's not about what they show, it's about what they don't show, and then they're not showing the most important parts of the Earth. So it's difficult to, if you're a flat earther, if you're a ball earther, yeah, you may have an excuse, you may have reasons for why they cut. You may believe it's random. I thought it was random. But if you're a flat earther and you're watching this, it makes perfect sense. But if you're flying towards the wall, you would cut the feed. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
I have a question for Eskimo. So you think that there is a craft up there that is flying and filming? Is that correct?
Yeah, there's some kind of black operation, some kind of military aircraft, unmanned, by the way, flying around, possibly 2 or 3. Yes, possibly when they cut, because obviously they wouldn't be able to get from one area to the other. Well, who knows? This is speculation because we haven't seen
Spurs.
it. Yes.
Me and Nathan had this chat the other night with John, Quantum Eraser, and I've got photographic evidence of that. I didn't take it myself, but I was in the room when the guy that owned the telescope took it on his telescope. And basically the ISS transit that we had, or pass over as it flew by, there was about 17 or 18 pictures as it went over the only part where he was able to get a picture of it. And I have the best of the pictures because I asked him to send me a copy of it. So because I was there when it was taken, and I actually watched him go through the pictures that his telescope took, and I picked out the best one that I wanted, and he sent it to me.
Yeah,
I've got an element of sentimentality to it. And I was conversing with John and Nathan, and basically I was saying that I agree that there does appear to be something up there that's tangible. And basically them two were against it, saying, well, and giving reasons. And I was like, yeah, but look, it does look real. And in the end, I went back to the basic rules of evidence to work out whether or not this evidence was credible that I myself have. And you see what looks like a plane in the sky. It looks like it's like a silver grey colour. Doesn't really look tangible. It looks like it could be holographic. Might be tangible, but it's difficult to tell. Go back to the basic rules of evidence. And one of the first points that you ask is it credible? And it comes from NASA. So instantly, no. But let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Is it verifiable? And the answer is no. How do we verify something that is inverifiable to virtually every single person on the planet? We have to trust and believe. And as much as I didn't want to let go of the point that I have this photograph that I myself took, or kind of took, that's mine, I'm sentimentally attached to, I had to agree that I couldn't verify it, and it's not credible. So overall, it's the crappiest of quality evidence out there. But for some reason, I was holding on to it, and I'm on our side. But I didn't want to let go of this piece of evidence that I'd got myself because I got it myself and it's mine. So, but in the end, the conclusion to the ISS point is whatever it is that is up there. Sure, you can argue whether it's real or not. You can argue how fast it's going. You can argue how big it is. But the point is, ultimately, is it credible evidence? And the answer is no. Is it verifiable evidence? And the answer is no. Ergo, it's crap quality evidence, whatever it is, because we can't trust it. So that's the only conclusion you can really come to.
About what? What are you saying there? There's nothing up there.
No, what I'm saying is we can't prove that whatever we see in the camera is what they tell us it is. We can't prove it.
I don't know, but I mean, the way, I don't know. I mean, I think we're like with the detectives in this. We're investigators. I mean, yeah, there are a lot of people who, are looking for that hardcore evidence, but I think most people have come into Flat Earth with through persuasion, right? It's not like you've presented anybody with a model or a map and they've said, oh, yeah, the Earth is flat. You've told them they're not on a globe. So, I think NASA are going to have to do so much. I think it'd be very difficult for them not to have something up there, at the very least.
Yeah, but the other thing is, though, if you're looking in chat there, someone says stars or no stars. Walter Williams says stars or no stars. When you look on the ISS feed, sometimes they show stars, sometimes they don't show stars. And I don't really know whether it's stars up there or not. And even NASA's astronauts themselves don't know whether there's stars up there or not. So it seems to be a whole host of doublespeak designed to confuse, to keep us talking about it. And I agree with Nathan, ultimately, that overall, none of us can validate any of this nonsense that we're told is true.
Of course not. But this is where the confusion comes in, because there's something up there, but it's not in space. This is the thing. Is
there, though? Could it not be a hologram projected by a plane that happens to be a lot closer, that's doing it on an angle that makes it look like it's there?
Yeah, it could be, but I'm going by just the day's event, where I went from, it's not real, there's nothing up there, and to seeing, a continent, and then thinking just to myself, oh, well, the camera has to cut. If this was real, like if it were real, and the wall is there, they would have to cut. and they cut. So for me, yeah, so that's suspicious. So now I've looked at it more in depth. You know, I'm looking at what they're doing. They are using it's TV fakery. So they're using cloud cover. They're using CGI, like overlays. They're definitely using overlays. They're switching cameras. They're probably using, sometimes it's probably not even live.
I agree. I reckon it's all faked.
They're using they're using a mixture of things, but there is something up there, you know, but it's not the ISS.
No, I'm going to cite Arwin's distance to the sun claim back. There is no distance to the ISS because you can't even tell if it's a tangible object or not.
I think we'd have to go back to my other idea that in order to verify it, if it's live, right, we can send things into the atmosphere all the time. So the ISS.
Yeah, Jaren did it with a laser, didn't he? He waited for the ISS to fly over, and he tried to aim a laser at it and kept it on it as best he could and whatever. And when he did the live feed, there was no evidence that it was there. So it's like, well,
no, but this is sort of that Red would have to do. He would have to get one of those balloons or rocket or something that you know, flies above the clouds, and the ISS should pick it up live.
Why? Why? If they've got something up there that's taking pictures and it doesn't look credible and nobody else can verify it, why can't we just auto deny it on the basis that they can't prove it to be true?
Yeah, but if I send a balloon up, like a big bright red balloon with red smoke and fireworks and all, you know, all things so it can be seen by the ISS, time it so live feed picks it up, why would you deny that?
Well, I do it. Let's see whether that happens.
That's what I'm saying. That's my point. So if Red or Sly or any of those guys really want to prove the ISS or whatever it is a real, you know, actually up there, if you're watching something live, just be like the news, that they would say, right, we know when the ISS is coming, we can all watch it on the tracker. And he would set the balloon off, big bright red balloon, you know, with fireworks or whatever it is, and the ISS would pick it up, no doubt. Why not?
It would have to be huge, though, wouldn't it, as a balloon to be seen?
No matter how huge, they can. You know, they're ballers. They believe it will pick it up. There's no problem.
But let's remember who's got the burden of proof here. We're saying it doesn't exist, and it's their assertion that it does. They've got to prove that it exists. NASA can't even do that. So what makes the ballers think that they could do it?
No, just mean in general. If anyone sends a balloon up, look how many balloons are sent up by amateurs. So if they were to send a balloon up, surely it can be seen by the ISS at some point.
Chris Monk rejected FE and adopted the Globe says that Jose replicated Soundly's images. That's just complete lies. That is not true whatsoever. Because we know that there was another guy at Pontchartrain in the last couple of days that did the same work as Jose. And we know that he didn't replicate Soundly's imagery either. So don't quite know why that story is going around, but let's quash that one immediately. Jose has not produced his evidence that I'm aware of. And even if he has, he said with himself he couldn't see no curve. He said he could see it on his camera, but his camera's got the same problem that most cameras have, in that they're a wide-angle lens, boys and girls. So let's not make silly assertions without evidence to prove it.
So, I mean, what is the thought or the feeling of the flat Earth? I mean, you know, the panel. I mean, you know, Nathan, do you think there's something up there, or you don't believe there's something up there? You know,
there's a light up there, but it's not that we need to verify its existence. You can go out and have a look at it. But the verification is whether or not it's a tin can with people inside it, as NASA assert.
Yes. That I don't believe. I don't believe there are people actually inside, flying around at 17,000. No, that's right. Yeah.
You've got to be a moron to believe that there are people inside the ISS, the way we're told.
I'm curious. Do you still have this picture your friend took?
Me?
Of this ISS? Yeah.
I do.
Can you show it to me? I just wonder how it looks like.
I can. Bear with me, I'll have to find it. I had it the other day.
Just take your time. It's all right.
Okay, give me within 5 minutes. I'll have it.
Yeah, sure.
In the meantime, Spurs, regarding your footage that you showed, to me, I mean, what briefly I could see from the video camera, I mean, it looks like there were no parallax in the video.
Okay.
So to me, I mean, it kind of looked like it was not real. So I don't know. I mean, it was.
It's possible. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, this could just be to wind up flat earthers. Let's cut the camera, even though it's not real. Yeah, it could be a lot of different things. Yeah, you're right. I mean, we simply cannot verify it. But for me, that was very suspicious. Why they cut exactly where they need to cut. You'll never see the north of America, a wide shot, a nice clear day wide shot of North America, north of Russia. You'll never see this. You had the ballers, Jeff this morning, scrambling this morning, trying to find a wide shot of Australia, a wide shot of, these southern countries. They're all like, because they assume, it reminded me of when I was asked to find a picture of the globe. It was like that feeling, because they were like, well, of course we can find wide shots of the ISS of all of these places. It's normal. And they just assume that. They were scrambling this morning to find such videos, and they were like, a couple of minutes long, cut here and there, and cloud coverage, not exactly what it should be. So yeah, I submit that nobody will find, unless NASA do something from this day forward to rectify this. But North America, if you see the ISS swinging far out, the outside lane, so to speak, on its trajectory, the camera will always cut near the north of, around the north, okay, anywhere there. You'll get a good clean sweep over California, that's near the south, towards Texas, Florida, where Red gets his shots. You'll get good clean sweeps. You'll get good clean sweeps to the north of Africa, but down the south, they'll cut. Brazil, depending on weather, if it's cloud coverage, you'll get footage, because it's huge blankets of cloud, not a problem. Coupled with coverage of paneling obstruction, so to speak. So yeah, I mean, people have to look at this for themselves, not just take my word, for it. So people have to build almost like a model or map. They'll realize, why did they cut here? Yeah, and of course, some people will jump on and say, well, they just cut here in the middle of random. Well, yeah, of course they're going to do that. You have to understand how these people are trying to deceive people. So they're going to have natural cuts, which are not natural, obviously, because they don't need to cut. But those, have cuts, unnecessary cuts, things like that. So you have to kind of investigate and look overall.
So when you were looking at the footage, and you were saying that when there is cloud coverage, then they don't cut the feed sometimes. But do they shift in direction, or appear to shift in direction? Because if they're actually filming over flat Earth, then everything
you can imagine. They switch cameras, they cut, they zoom in. Right? Sometimes you get a shot that's completely zoomed in, and it's like, well, why are you just zooming in on cloud? Switch to a wider angle, give us something to look at. But again, you have to kind of watch it for yourself. Most people didn't believe this, especially the ballers that that I've been discussing this with. They had to watch. We had to watch literally like a whole day of ISS laps to ensure that I wasn't just making wild predictions, because I would tell them precisely when the camera was going to cut. I would say, well, it's coming down the south, it will cut here. It's coming around Australia somewhere, it will cut here. They couldn't believe it. And now, they're looking for themselves, but they can't explain it. They just don't know why the camera cuts.
Can I just add one thing, sorry, before we move on to Anthony's picture? So you mentioned that it didn't have any parallax, and I've heard that mentioned a few times, and I completely agree. So what you have scrolling underneath, often when you've got like pictures of the tin can ISS itself, you've got what looks like the notes on a player piano rolling by without any parallax. It just looks so fake, because like you say, there's no change in speed as the stuff gets closer to the camera, which you would absolutely expect, but you never see. So I think you said afterwards, I don't know if they're just taking the mickey out of flat earthers by cutting the feed when it's obviously fake to begin with, just so we start talking about it. Yeah,
I mean, it could be that, but I think they're using layering to give it that CGI look. I mean, they're being very iffy. I think it's all done on purpose. The ball earthers, the fanboys, the NASA boys, they're not going to question this We're just going to say it's just a complete lie. But I think, this will make the ball earthers look and say, well, why are they cutting it? It's not just random. How can you just predict when they're going to cut if it's supposed to be random? But I think that ruffled them somewhat, because you're not supposed to make predictions like that. So yeah, I mean, it just looked fake. When I look at the whole thing, the curvature, the clouds, like I said, it looks lifeless. If you were looking up on Earth, you would say, is there life on Earth? Is anything happening down there? I'm not talking about seeing people or cars. That's what they jump to. But just like we spoke of lightning, just anything to suggest that there's life on Earth. So yeah, it could be fake. But I do think there's something up there recording the Earth. They would anyway. It would make sense anyway, flat or not. The military, the government would have something, whether it be balloons or, them blimps. They would have something up there anyway. So that makes sense to me now, after having watched this.
You're presenting now, Anthony. Well, you have been for a while, actually. There you go. That's Anthony's mate's picture that it was captured through a telescope with Anthony in the presence of that scope while it was having the shutter opened.
It looks really nice to me. I mean, it could be real, because I believe this guy really made a picture of it.
I didn't realize this picture. I didn't realize I was on mute, but this picture was taken before I was into Flat Earth, and he sent it to me on WhatsApp.
All right.
I was there when it was taken, and I was there when he was presenting it on screen to see it once he took his camera off it. And I asked him to send me the best of the pictures, and he said pick one. So I picked one, and this is the one I picked. And he sent it to me on WhatsApp. So it has been compressed a little bit through WhatsApp, but it's basically the same picture. And when he took this picture, I was questioning the ISS at the time because I was asking all the questions. That was my part in the journey. So I asked Red's Rhetoric, could he explain how this could possibly represent the International Space Station? Because as most of us will agree that looks nothing like what we got shown on TV, because there should be at least a secondary layer of solar panels either on both sides of this. It looks just like a plane. So I messaged Reds in one of his hangouts, and I didn't know he was live at the time, but I said, I've got an ISS picture that I wanted to prove that this is credible. So he sent me a link in reply, and I clicked the link, and I ended up inside the hangout, and I've never been in a hangout before. Didn't know what I was doing in there. Didn't know who Reds was. Didn't know who all these other groupies were, but it was like I was in a grave, and there were all these people looking down into the grave, looking at me in the graveyard. And I'm looking up and seeing all these eyes and these noses peeping over. And I just said, this doesn't look like it's the real International Space Station to me. What have you got to say about it? And he asked me the background, and I told him what it was. And one of the swines in his chat got a 3D model of the International Space Station, and he got it orientated exactly the way it was necessary to replicate this. So even though I'd said there's no way this is the International Space Station, somebody had used my own evidence against me and said, "Nah, that matches exactly what we would see." But what he had was a little blob that was it was either on this side or on that side. I can't remember which, but wasn't on his animation. And so I said, well, there was on his animation, whichever it was. And I said, well, what's that little blob there? And he said, that's the Soyuz capsule. And I was like, oh, no way. So what he was presenting me was a real world 3D model of the model that they're told that we've got. And he used my own evidence against me, and it put me back by 6 months because it kicked me in the dick. I'll be honest. I was like, no way, maybe it is real then. But look at it. Look at the way it's composed, right? It looks, I don't know what color you'd call that, but whatever color that is, I wouldn't describe it as a metallic color because it should be gleaming and like glinting. But this is what I got. And when I got it, I didn't believe it. And Reds then used it against me and said that's completely what we would expect to see. Now, that to me looks holographic. Now, it is moot, I accept. But my point is, this is one that I have myself. And it's like I held on to this for a while, and I still have it for that reason. And Nathan and I had the conversation. And even at the end of it, I had to concede that it wasn't strong evidence, even though it's mine and I was attached to it because it's mine. What I realized is that if you've got evidence that's yours, you are going to be attached to it massively, right? As I was to this, and it's hard to let go of it, regardless of the truth, right? Because it's yours. It's yours. It's your baby. You've got it. It's yours, right? And that's how people won't let go to the ball, because a lot of the evidence that they get or whatever, in some way they get attached to it and they don't want to let go of it. But in the end, I let go of this and I said, yeah, I can't verify that this is true, that I can't validate this evidence as strong. And I mean, yeah, you can repeat it, but what are you looking at? And it looks holographic. That's the way I interpret what I'm looking at. Does it make it tangible? Does it make it real? Does it make it the size they tell us? Does it make it where they tell us it is? No, it's just what looks like a light of some kind that looks like it's being projected. Might be wrong, but that's the way I interpret this now. It's not strong evidence, but it feels strong when you get it.
It's the equivalent. It's the equivalent of David Icke saying that the moon is a spaceship, and then giving you all the details about it, and then you saying that's utter nonsense. It can't possibly be a spaceship. And then he points at the moon and goes, "There it is. Look, there it is." So NASA are doing the same thing. They go, "This is a tin can." Well, you go, "Well, that's absolute nonsense." And they go, "Well, look, there it is. There it is. Therefore, tin can." No.
I have a problem with this holographic stuff, because how are you going to make this holographic? I mean, holograms, as we know it, don't really exist. Holograms, like you see in Star Trek or so, this stuff is science fiction.
What are you talking about? They've had Michael Jackson on stage as a full-size hologram, and you're telling me those things don't exist? I've seen full-size people as holograms.
What? Again, repeat it, please. I didn't understand.
Full-size people on stage as holograms.
You mean this? Wait, I have to find this video. You mean the
Like when they did it with Michael Jackson.
Died? I don't remember, but
they did it with Michael Jackson.
They did it with Michael Jackson. Are you sure? All right.
I'm pretty sure.
I've seen like one of Tupac on the stage, right?
Yeah, I think I've seen that one too.
But for that, it is on the stage, and it's only from one angle. To make a hologram from that can be seen from every angle, like it's impossible right now.
Sorry, every angle, or just from beneath it?
Yeah, you have to choose one side, because
what you just said we have to see it from every angle. Sorry, hold on. Yeah. You just said we have to see it from every angle. So I'll tell you two things. Number one, when these holograms are on stage, they can be seen from multiple angles. Number two, are you getting above the ISS to confirm what you've just said? Of course not. We see it from pretty much one angle. So that pretty much shits all over that argument.
Well, from multiple angles, because, if it flies over you, you can see it once it gets in your line of sight, and when it escapes your line of sight.
What, like on a stage, being on one side of the stage and the other side of the stage and still seeing the hologram, that sort of thing, you mean?
When you are on a stage, you have it wasn't like in an arena, right? When they have shown
a minute ago, this wasn't possible and was only possible on bloody sci-fi movies. Now we're talking about the validity of it on stage. Literally 2 minutes ago, you said this wasn't possible.
Only from one side, If the ISS flies over you, you can see it from the bottom right or from the bottom left, supposedly.
Right, and if I walk across the stage and see the hologram on stage, I can walk from one side to the other and still see the hologram.
So, you know how holograms work sometimes?
According to you 2 minutes ago, they don't exist except on movies. So why are you asking me how they work when literally 2 minutes ago, now you're talking over me. Now you're talking over me. Now you're talking over me. Literally 2 minutes ago, this was just science fiction, according to you. So have you rescinded? Why are you talking over me? Is it because I'm obliterating your argument that you can't help talk over me?
All right, finish your.
No, you don't need to give me permission to finish my sentence. Thank you. Yeah, 2 minutes ago, this was just science fiction.
Holograms on the scale of the ISS are science fiction.
No, that's not what you said. You said holograms only exist in science fiction.
So how are you going to make a hologram?
Excuse me, are you going to acknowledge what I've just said, or are you just going to keep repeating another non sequitur? You said it only exists in science fiction. It doesn't.
All right, let me correct my statement. Holograms on the scale of the ISS only exist in science fiction.
Sorry, you show me a science fiction example of that. Show me a science fiction example of an ISS-sized hologram, please.
Science fiction example? of an ISS, like Star Trek and stuff like
Yes,
this?
you've just told me that hologrammatic images like the ISS exist in science fiction. Give me one example.
Like Star Trek, they show holograms and stuff like that.
Yeah, do you want to give me an example?
Do I really have to search a science fiction movie?
This is your assertion. What do you want me to search for you to back your bloody claim?
Saying holograms in the.
Yes, I know what you're saying. I'm saying prove what you're claiming.
What are you talking about? Look, I don't care about it because.
Alright, well shut your stupid mouth then. Stop saying holograms don't exist, they do. Stop saying the size of a ISS hologram only exists in sci-fi when you can't back up your claim. Just keep your bloody mouth shut if you don't care. Stop talking over me.
Show me an hologram of the size of the ISS on Earth, please.
What are you talking about? This is your assertion they don't exist.
Yeah, they don't exist.
Alright, outside of sci-fi that you've not proved.
Why do I have to prove that they don't exist?
Your assertion is that they don't exist except in sci-fi.
Yeah.
Right! So do you understand the burden of proof, you blithering idiot?
Are you a little bit retarded?
Excuse me, do you understand what the burden of proof is or not?
Yes, I do.
Right, so this is your assertion, dick brain. Don't tell me to prove your assertion.
If I say a pink unicorn doesn't exist, then you have to prove it exists?
No, that would be you not being able to prove an argument from ignorance, not me.
Alright, I think you got
Yeah,
it.
I'll say it again. You can't prove an argument from ignorance. That would be your argument from ignorance, not mine. Okay?
Why are you so upset?
Because I'm talking to an idiot who starts making arguments from ignorance and then asks me to prove them.
Alright.
Not alright. You've asked me why I'm upset with you. It's because you're an idiot.
Sure, so you have...
Yes, you are an idiot. You can't prove an argument from ignorance. Don't ask me to prove your argument from ignorance.
Let's hear what he says you've got to prove, Nathan. Just shush us a minute. Let him get his sentence out. What does Nathan have to prove?
Well, holograms, right? Holograms on the size of the ISS. I said they aren't real. They can't be real with current technology. Because to make an hologram, you either take two plates, like rounded plates, put them on each other, take a mirror, put it inside of it, and take a real object, put it into those plates, and then you can see a hologram of the real object. So you need a real object to make this hologram for it. This is one thing, right?
There's a size limitation of a hologram that makes the idea that the hologram is wrong.
And the thing is, if you want to project a hologram with lights, what happens if you cross two lights? The color changes when they cross each other. You know, like I don't know, like red and green and blue, and it becomes white, for example, right? The light. So to make a hologram, you have to have something bigger than the hologram to project it. This is my point. You can't just make a hologram of nothing.
Right, so this goes back to my point that it appears to be not tangible. Yeah?
What's tangible? I don't know this word. Sorry.
The picture that I presented means that I said that the picture looked like it was a hologram, and what I meant by that was it didn't look tangible. Now, what you're saying is that holograms are limited by size. Well, my point is, well, I'm not going to have the argument about holograms. My point is that it's not tangible in the first place. So what I'm saying is, how do we prove that it is actually an object that's tangible that we could bounce radar off or whatever? How do we prove its tangible nature?
Well, holographic image of light, literally. That's what it means.
No, I don't want to go down the hologram route. What I'm trying to do is validate the claim by science that there is a tin can up there that's carrying people. Well, we're never going to know what's inside of it.
I don't say it carries people or something like that. I just say there is a real object flying over us. You can prove it.
How do we prove that?
You can take radio waves, shoot it at it, and measure how long it takes for them to come back.
And is there any evidence for that?
Please, just like with the moon and the sun and blah, blah.
Is there any evidence that supports that position?
Well, I don't have evidence only your picture, for example, but I never took a picture of myself from it.
Right, but I can get into bed with Britney Spears tomorrow, right? But does that mean that it's true? Because I can.
No, the better comparison is the David Icke example. You're saying we can measure the distance to the light in the sky with radar. Well, does that mean that it's a tin can with men inside it? Of course not. It's the same as bloody David Icke saying that the moon is a spaceship. And then saying, well, look, if I measure the distance to the moon, that means it's a spaceship with people inside. No, it doesn't.
I never said it's a tin can with people in it. I just said there's something over us flying over our heads that it's really far away.
Right.
How do you know it's really far away?
It's light.
Well, why? Hold on. How do you know it's far away? How do you know it's far away?
Well, you just filmed it.
Just what?
It's light you see. Doesn't mean it's...
Hang on. So I would argue back. I would say, right, this thing that I took a picture of, or that my friend took a picture of, is supposed to be the size of a football pitch, but it's supposed to be 600 kilometers high, 400 and something miles. So it's like, are you telling me that I've got the scale right there with this telescope?
No, of course not. It could be closer, and it could be smaller. Of course, I never said it's so gigantic.
True,
because you can't know how big it is if you don't have nothing to compare it with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how do we know that there's a tangible tin can up there that we can put men in it? Let's forget about the men for a minute. How do we prove that it's tangible? Well, you said you can do radar. Okay, is there any evidence for the radar? You said no, you haven't got any. Right. So is there any other evidence?
How you could prove it, yeah.
Yeah, but is there any other evidence that we could prove that there is something up there that represents a tin can? And there appears not to be. But if you know of something that exists that I don't, then tell us.
Well, as I said, it could be a plane really high. It could be anything, but it's just something
really
flying over our
we're trying
heads.
to establish.
Does that look like a plane to you?
Hold on, that's fair enough. Hold on. That's perfectly reasonable assertion. There is something flying over our head. Okay, that's the only conclusion you can draw. Fine, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, but the issue's not about the assertion. The issue's about validating that assertion.
Wait,
so
I
where's
have
the
to
evidence
open the door.
for the tin can bit?
Go on. I have to go away for like 5 minutes. Sorry.
Yeah, well, you can't validate that it's a tin can, Anthony. That's the argument that you and I had the other night for about 2 hours, probably 3.
And that's the point I'm trying to get across to our friend here. He says that, well, you can get radar and measure it. Well, okay, well, where's the evidence that show? Well, that doesn't exist. But that doesn't mean that you can't get it. Yeah, but I can get into bed with Britney Spears. But the fact that I can't really doesn't mean that I can't possibly do it. Sure, you can possibly get this radar evidence, but does it actually exist? Where's the evidence? So far, crickets.
Well, yeah, seeing a light in the sky doesn't mean that it's a tin can. So when people say it's there because we can see it, yeah, we can see the moon. And David Icke can assert that that's a spaceship. So what, are you going to prove it by measuring the distance to the moon? Suddenly that validates that it's a spaceship? No. And in the same way as you can look at the light in the sky they call the ISS, does that prove their assertion that it's a spaceship? No. No more than David Icke's moon is a spaceship. You have to validate these things. Check. And we can't. So we have no idea what it is. Absolutely none whatsoever.
Which was my point. Prove that it is a tin can. Otherwise, it's not a tin can, it's a story. Where is the proof that the ISS is actually up there? And the answer is there is no credible, verified evidence that it's true. The only evidence verifies the story, right? Not the claim itself. Someone show that there is a tin can up there that is tangible, that we can bounce a signal off or whatever, and then we may consider it to be true. But ultimately, the claim fails at that point, in my opinion, because the evidence isn't there to prove that there is a tin can up there. You can believe, but can't prove. Well, there's a difference between the two.
Anthony, your picture, do you believe that it's proof that something is up there?
I honestly don't know is the answer. For a long time, I was of the view that it was probably true, that there was probably something tangible up there, but you can't prove it. So do you believe the belief, or do you question the belief because there isn't the evidence to prove it? Now, if you're a baller, you will believe the belief. But if you're a critique like me, if you're a critic thinker that like me and Nathan, then you'll say, well, if you can't prove it, then you can't prove it, right? So for me, it's more about the proof. It's what can you prove compared to what do you believe. So the answer to your question is, I lean more towards I don't think so. I don't think that represents a tangible object. I might be wrong, but I haven't seen any evidence that there is a tangible tin can up there with or without humans in it. It just seems to be something that could be. I mean, to be honest, it looks like Saturn, in my opinion. It looks like the rings of Saturn, but that doesn't mean it's not. All I'm saying is I can't validate it. I can't verify it to be true. I can't repeat it. All I can do is see a light in the sky that looks like it may well be something tangible, but how do you prove it? And it stops there. If you can't prove it, then the assertion has to fail, and you have to put it into the I don't know category until you can see evidence to the contrary.
Yeah, I mean, I would just like to split it in two different. So one is there something up there? Yes or no? And the other question then is, what is it? So, I mean, do we have? Do you believe that you have the answer for the first question? Is there something up there, tangible or not?
I don't know is the answer.
Okay. Because based on a lot of people's footage, I mean, it seems that there is something going on in the sky. Then, if it's tangible or not, that's totally different.
Well, listen, we all see that thing that they tell us is up there, right? But who's to say that it's not simply the consequence of a light that they notice a pattern on that does look like it's tangible, and they tell us. If they tell us to look up there and a light does what they say it does, right? Does that mean that the light is real, or does it mean that they've spotted a pattern and they've told us, "Hey, look, if you look up at this time or this date, you will see something flying past you. It looks like the Jetsons, but we've just realized that we don't know what it is, but we know that it happens every X amount of days, weeks, or minutes, or whatever, and it follows a frequency." But does it mean it's true? And how would you validate it? And that's ultimate. The answer is I do not know what it is. It may be real, it may not be, but I can't prove it. So it has to go into the I don't know category.
It's a sight. It's an observed phenomena. Doesn't mean that it's a thing. That
it's an observation, yeah.
Up there at all.
Well, what do you think?
Sites of ISS-like shapes have been noted for hundreds of years. So,
same question back to you. Do you think it's a tangible object?
Is it to me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I honestly don't know. I mean, based on people's footage, I mean, I'm kind of leaning toward that something is there, but whether it's tangible or not, I can't prove, and it's not possible to prove. So I will not go into the to believe that it's tangible because I can't prove it. It can be a smoke screen. I mean, I honestly don't know. So I mean,
position as me.
Yeah. So I mean, so one thing is the object itself, that there is something in the sky. So that's one thing, and the other one is the story that's attached to it. So that one is for sure. I mean, not. I mean, we can't prove that to be true. So, but I mean, based on the observation, yours and other that I've seen, it seems that there is something in the sky moving, and then if it's tangible or not, I mean, we can't go beyond that step.
It could just be a firefly. I mean, I'm not saying it is, but what I'm saying is there are other explanations for what we appear to see. And at the end of the day, if you can't prove the assertion, then the assertion goes into the unproved category, and the assertion ultimately fails. So and they can't prove it.
It's very simple. The ISS observed phenomena moves in a path, in a very specific path, always when observed, that correlates directly with all the paths, all of them, of the heavenly bodies. It is not strange to then conclude that it is part of the globe of the heavens because it shares so many similarities with it. It's an arced path, it's a straight line, you have angular relations, you have light phenomena, you have no proof of physicality. It's, Occam's razor. It is very much likely it is just a part of the globe of the heaven phenomena.
Yeah, there's one thing also I've been thinking when it comes to perspective. I mean, we know that when you look at the horizon, I mean, the sky and the ground are converging into a convergent point. But how does perspective like work when you, let's say, lay on your back and look at the sky? Do you have like, I mean, are the sides converging then at one point? Is there a apparent horizon? And how does that affect our observation of the sky?
Are you asking if there's parallax? Is that what you're asking?
No, I mean, when you stand on the ground and you look out, you see a horizon, and you have your ground is converging to one point and the sky, so they're meeting into one convergent point. But so that's if you look straight. But if you lay on your back and just look at the sky above, do you have a horizon there, which is kind of like your bottom and your
No, you don't have horizon.
No,
You
no,
do
no. I
have
get what you're saying now.
limited
That's a really good
line
question.
of sight, however, due to air obstruction and that kind of thing.
But I mean, you should have the same effect, like the sides and the converging into one point.
No,
No.
no, there's no Airy's diffraction. There's no flat surface you're looking against. That is what causes all the miraging effects on the horizon. There is no physical object that you're looking past. It's all open sky. Unless you're gonna look laying on your back upwards next to a very tall flat apartment building or skyscraper. No.
Yeah, but
It's
I mean,
an open space. There is no horizon effects. There is no diffraction going on.
I think what Arwen's saying is the sky, you've got an open angle, a viewing angle that's massive to everything. Whereas if you're looking across a flat plane, you've got a limited viewing angle from your eyes down across the distance that you're looking. But from your eyes up, you've got, I'm not going to say infinite, but a massive viewing angle to see everything. If you lie on your back, all you've got is a completely wide viewing angle. There is nothing below the line of your eye that's going to converge and have an optical effect due to an angular size reduction. You've just got a massive viewing angle. So I think I understand what Arwen's saying, but I also think it's an interesting point. You know, how do you gauge convergence when you're looking up at the sky? And the simple answer is you don't.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm thinking if you let's say pretend that the ground that you have is the sky. So you have the sky and you have the sky below your feet, and there is a plane flying on top of your head and away from you. It will still go down, appear to go down, even if there is no ground, right? Even if the ground is sky.
No, because you don't have a limited viewing angle. So as Arwen says, you get the Airy's diffraction when you have a limited viewing angle from your eye down to the ground, which is obviously very, very limited if you look at distance. Well, you wouldn't have that effect if you're looking up at the sky.
Unless something else is obscuring your view, like at a very tall skyscraper, right where you're resting the top of your head against, as it were, as you're looking up. Then there might be some diffraction up to a certain point.
If there were like layers of birds, you know, at different heights, maybe you'd see some kind of thing like that. When in reality, they're all, you know, in the same tangent line up and down. But to your position, there's like, you know, it's still doing that effect, but that's why you normally wouldn't see that, because there's nothing to compare anything to tangibly in the sky. You know, when you're looking up, there's just nothing there. So you can't see that effect because there's nothing to give you that effect. I think that's what we're trying to get at.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, but I'm just saying that looking up at the sky should. I mean, you never consider like how is the. I mean, of course, you have the angular resolution that things will shrink as they move away from you.
No, but you're forgetting you also have obstruction due to lack of air clarity. Eventually, there's the diffraction effect, things obstructing things in the foreground, obstructing things in the background, causing the optical slant and Airy's diffraction, and there is the lack of transparency eventually of gas. or whatever medium you're looking through, that will cause just a fog, a blur, limited to the line of sight. And that also happens vertically, even though the air does decrease in thickness, in pressure, basically upwards, it still will continue on and will cause obstruction.
Yeah, you've said it all when you say angular size limitation. Well, that's down to viewing angle. If you have a limited angle to view something, the further it gets away, the more likely it's going to disappear bottom up because of the limited viewing angle. But if you then literally look up to the sky, you've got the entire angle that you can see to everything that you can see. But you don't have that when you're looking level with the ground. That's why you have Airy's diffraction.
Okay, I think I see what you guys mean.
Just saying, I have to leave right now. So there's one place open for the hangout because I guess 10 people are maximum, right? If someone of the chat wants to join, is free to join. And before I go, just for a moment to you, Nathan, you should really chill the fuck out sometimes. It's not productive.
Really? Do holograms not exist outside of sci-fi, or can we see them on stages, dickhead?
Yeah, and let's not go back to it.
What, your dumb fuckery? Yeah, let's not go back to how angry I got about your dumb fuckery and your assertions that you didn't back with anything other than words. Yeah, I'll chill out when you stop being a dumb fuck. I can swear too, yeah? Tell me to chill the fuck out. Get out my hangout, you stupid prick. Idiot. Tell me to chill out because you've been obliterated.
Or
that's
what?
All you've done.
Or what? You're gonna
you should really
be declared retarded, which you are?
Gov has a document that came out in 1988 where it says that planes can fly relative.
Trolls.
What?
Trolls. Hello, Chris. Good to have you. Yeah, people don't like when I get annoyed with them and point out their stupidity.
No, you're just going to live less if you always are so upset. Just saying, it's not healthy.
Sorry, answer my question. Do holograms only exist in Hollywood?
No.
Right, you asserted that and then tried to defend it repeatedly.
But in order to make a hologram, you need to think...
Oh, here we go. So you're going to defend it again. Are you going to concede your total dumb fuckery or not?
Is a rainbow a
Sorry, do you not like me getting upset? Do you not like me pointing out what a stupid idiot you are? Yeah, a lot of people don't. They tell me to chill out. I won't chill out. I'll point out you're an idiot, and you've made an assertion with absolutely no backing for it whatsoever. So you can think that you'll get the last word in. You won't. I'll tell you what an idiot you are for asserting that holograms only exist in Hollywood. They don't.
Yeah, there's a Nintendo 3D that can make holograms. You don't need Hollywood for that. And anyone with a garden hose and some sunlight can make a rainbow, which is also a hologram.
Hello, Pat. Can you hear us?
Hello, yes, I can hear you.
It's Jimbo, yeah? Jimbo. Yeah, anyway, he's gone. But yeah, don't tell me to chill out. I'm just pointing out your idiocy, and when you continually argue with me, despite the fact that your assertions aren't backed up by anything but words, you can tell me that that's annoying for you by criticising me and my attitude. No, my attitude won't change when I'm dealing with idiots.
Real quick, 2 pictures from the cupola in the ISS, just to point out a perspective issue, real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
This will probably be the last thing, and then we'll round out the show, so... Take it away, Jimbo.
Okay. So I should be sharing.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
Now, we have this Netherlands astronaut, Andres Kuiper, I guess. Now, these are 2 photos from NASA. One is apparently over Italy and Sicily and shows Europe and all kinds of stuff. And the other one, someone hunted down this location, and it seems to be over the Ivory Coast of Africa. A couple of problems is this one here is your relative view straight down of about 250 miles up. The problem with the Italy one here is it's 3,000 plus miles up. If you go to Google Earth and try to match this view of Italy, you'll see your elevation is over 3,000 miles. So they don't match.
Maybe they just changed.
Well, what else is noticeable is that this picture of Mr. Kuiper's is the same one in both photos, where what's in the cupola window here, this portal, has been simply green screened out and a new image, cropped in or pasted in. So something's wrong. If this one's at 3,000 miles over Italy, and then they were down to 240 miles to 300 miles over the African coast, someone's, bullshitting a little bit, to say the least. I won't even bother pulling up Google Earth. Anyone can do it. But when you see too much of a view of the Earth, that can only be achieved from great elevation. 240 miles up isn't very high. It's like you flip one state on its side, like Vermont, and that's how high it is.
Or they replace the window, make it more thick because of the dangers of micrometeorites.
No, I never heard of them replacing a window on the cupola. That'd be impossible anyway.
Normally, it'd strike me as one of their double bluffs. If you put those two obvious, the same, just doctored images together, and you look, one's 250 miles and one's 3,000. You go, well, obviously it's the 250. Look, the other one's so fake, so that you actually believe it's 250. They're probably both fake, and it ain't that high. It's just would seem.
The problem is, too, the one over Africa, the camera seems to have a straight down view, where the one over Italy and Europe seems to be skewed at an angle.
Yes.
That's a problem. That's a big issue, not just the heights. Everything's wrong. If you put this to a judge in a court and said, are these real, or is someone trying to fraud the court? I mean, even a judge first day on the bench would say, it's a fraud.
It's not up
Let's
to
face
them.
it.
But I have a question. Are these photos both originally published by NASA? Or
Yes.
is one of these pictures
I'm
just
not going to go
edited?
and re-get them, but yes, anyone can go take the time to hunt them down on NASA's database if they haven't done shit to it already, and find them.
As an officially published picture.
Yeah, I'm not going to go through that with anyone. Like I say, I mean, why? Okay, a lot of people do adulterate images for magazines, for other stuff.
Right, exactly. That's my
promotions
point.
for everything. That's fine. That's fine. So does NASA. So, like I say,
it would be good to actually
I didn't
have
produce
that
these
proof.
pictures. I'm not going to vet them. Anyone wants to and be the sleuth on this, they're free to. All I can say
You're
is
the one that
finding
making
these
the
on the
statement,
web,
though.
they're there for everybody, not just me.
Yep.
So the deception's there, not just for me to prove or disprove. It's there for everyone.
Yeah, but you're making the assertion that they
It's
are
a
both
possibility that these both come from NASA, absolutely.
No, that's not what you said.
And there you go. All I'm saying is that it looks really bad. A little more research wouldn't hurt. I ain't got the time for it. That's all.
Can I just tack something on? Can I just tack something on right at the end here regarding the possibility of what the ISS that is visible that Anthony Riley was saying he has a photograph of might be?
Yes,
some interesting material I found.
Yeah, sure.
Can you share my screen for a sec, Nathan?
Yeah, if it was also real, there wouldn't be bullshit like this on the web. They could publish lots of real photos.
Ready when you are, Nami.
Okay, here we go. So yeah, I just found this. I found these articles like a year or so ago, and I was just struggling to find them again, but I found this one. Yeah, ovnis-armee.org that describes this technology that can use masers, which is basically a microwave laser to create artificial stars. So you guys have probably heard of this, right? Artificial stars?
No.
Oh yeah, well that basically they're able to project. Anyways, this is claimed by these papers in this technology, but they also describe some small scale experiments that can be reproduced to show how you can create like a luminous object at a distance by using microwaves. So
there's a Japanese company that will put stars in the sky for you for $7,000 a star. for special
Right.
occasions.
Okay. Anyways,
They hit a sodium layer up there apparently with the laser, and it produces a star.
Yep. Anyways, so just if you read through this article, and I'll drop this in the here. Let me just drop this in the side here, just so you guys can hang on to it. Very interesting. I mean, I found more to this in the past, but I wasn't able to. I just can't find it right offhand right now. I have it in the notes on my other computer. But if you scroll down, they talk about how they're able to create the illusion of a metallic object and having it move at tremendous speeds. See, it says, it will be objected that the UFOs seen at night sometimes appear opaque or even metallic. This impression of opaqueness could be achieved by a cannon carrying out a sweep with plasma just bright enough to simulate a metallic gray color. So I'm not going to read through this entire article, but I recommend it because it seems like producing a UFO with help of a particle cannon, that there may be a kind of quasi-holographic technology. And this was invented in the 20s, developed in the 30s and 40s. This has been around for a long time. But so may have had a long time to perfect it, before implementing it to create something like the ISS. But I found these other articles, okay? Like, this isn't the best article. I did find these other articles that were saying that they could create the illusion of specific planes using this technology, like that they could project the image of specific types of aircraft and as military decoys in metallic colors and everything like that by using microwave like lasers, masers they're called, to create luminous points in the upper atmosphere. So that's this is sort of an above board possible explanation for the images that we see in the sky that people photograph with their telescopes and things like that. Just something to think about. I just wanted to add that.
Well, I think you're wrong, and that only exists in sci-fi movies.
Well, that could be as well. I mean, I don't necessarily trust everything I read. I'm just saying that it's arguable, right? There's something to this. And like I say, they do, they explain how you can do some sort of, check out this article yourself, because I don't want to go on too long, but like they do explain some rudimentary experiments that can be done or tests that can be done just using your microwave to show how luminous points can be projected. Anyways, that's all.
What's the link I've just been shared? I've just got it up on screen now. Is it the Twitter page?
It's Scott Kelly getting hung up in his wire harness upside down, and he can't turn back around.
Whereabouts is that? Is it the first video?
Yeah, go back to it or refresh it, and it's like a pop up.
Okay. Dang, I think I got rid of it. It was on screen for a few moments. But yeah, thank you for that. I'll stick the link in the info box as well. Anybody got anything to add before we round out? Take that as a no. No. Okay, with that, I'm going to say first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible, and of course a massive thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you hated the show, you know exactly what to do, but if you liked it, maybe consider sharing it with a friend, or subscribing if you've not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!